big supersized, super spectacular 100-page anniversary extravaganza up your ass. It's Robin's 80th birthday.
It actually is 100 pages this time.
And it never stops. It just keeps going and going. And just like, is it done yet? Nope.
You know, I was reading it. I said to you guys, I thought I was like nearly done, and then I looked at the page count, and I was at like 60, and I was like, oh dear God, it's still there.
So I put most of this off till this morning, which I normally don't do, and it was really cold downstairs because we're not, it's not that cold here, so we don't have the heat on, and we have the doors open. The weather's kind of nice, but I got super cold, so I huddled under a blanket with my iPad to read this, and I almost took a nap. Because it was so nice and cozy, and just the pages just kept going, and I had to sit up and get out of my little cocoon so I could finish Robin.
You know what? This is the one that they've put the least effort into so far. And I don't mean even in terms of the stories. I mean, they're not even doing like original pinups. Like it's just, hey, look at these classic covers.
Yeah, that was a problem. That said, a couple of the stories you could tell the writers really tried. And I appreciate that because you could tell they like Robin. I'm still upset that we didn't get a I'm drawing a blank. He did the New Order.
Cale Higgins. Yeah.
I'm surprised we didn't get a Higgins story.
Maybe just been maybe they wanted to
maybe he didn't have time.
Yeah,
and I know he's busy, but at the same time, like I could tell Tynan really enjoys Tim Drake, and I know the same for Higgins with Dick Grayson, and he had a really long Grayson run. So,
well, let's go through them. I mean, I don't know if we'll spend much time on each one individually, but just to sort of summarize what they are. So the first one, so they kind of go in order of what the Robins are. So the first like 3 are like Dick Grayson stories and so on. Mm-hmm. The first one is the Marv Wolfman, Tom Grummett story. So it's got the kind of classic art style.
Yeah, Grummett is the one who did that classic Robin cover for the first Robin book, and it is very much associated with the character because of that, if nothing else. And
it's basically the story of how Robin leaves Batman, how he makes his choice to leave because he keeps kind of going against Batman's orders, and the kind of twist at the end here is that when Robin tells him that he has to go to fill his own thing, and they have this kind of heartfelt goodbye, Batman's narration kind of says, oh yeah, I was intentionally pushing him because he did a little shove to finally make the choice. Like I was being a dick intentionally.
Yeah, but that's not good. That's borderline abusive behavior.
No one ever said Batman was a good parent, Matt.
Yeah, that's true.
Honestly, I thought
the fact that. Go ahead.
It all sounded a bit off to me. I didn't realize this was Dick until the very end. I thought, is this Jason?
No, it's
so much like Jason for a lot of it.
Well, it's definitely Wolf. This is Titans era, New Teen Titans era. Wolfman. He's created the concept of Nightwing on his own. So it fells of that era, and to me, that era is still very hard to read. This one was a chore to get through. I started reading this one, I went, oh no. If this is what this is going to be like, I'm in for a rough time.
Well, I didn't necessarily dislike this one. I didn't necessarily like it that much either.
It's not bad. It's just the pacing's off, and from what I'm used to.
I like the art a lot.
Yeah, that's good. I like the art. It's kind of solid.
I like the kid telling him he's only wearing a Batman shirt because there were a lot of Robins.
What
I'm like,
bullshit.
That was cool.
He's just saying that to make him feel better.
Joe, I like about this one. I like this establishing that we can just number the Robins now because it's like Jason's Robin 2, but Roman numerals, not I like that. Stephanie's Robin 4, and then it doesn't say Damien's Robin 5. It says Damien's son of Batman. That's like his moniker. Right. But you know what? No, he's Robin 5.
It goes.
See, that's not continuity canon though, right? That Steph.
It is now.
Well, that's the thing. I don't know if it is.
Joe's funny.
A lot of these stories are clearly just associated with their runs of their time, and they're not canon. In the same way that the Flash, what was it? Flash from
There was a couple of stories this week I saw about how the Robin one shot confirms that Stephanie was never Batgirl, but she was Robin, and all I could think was, okay, first of all, we knew she wasn't Batgirl in the continuity. That's not a new thing, like that, because the whole thing Tynan's detective run is that she saw a glimpse of what what past she didn't have anymore, right? That was very clearly defined. And secondly, that doesn't prove she was Robin in the current continuity. This is just these stories that have to be continuity. The only one that's in continuity for sure is the last one, because it's actually tying into Teen Titans going forward.
I would counter that as well with the Tynan one, because it's clearly a prequel.
Oh, sure, yeah, sorry, you're right. You're right, yeah. So the Titans is a prequel to his run, yeah.
That her stint as Robin and her ended up, with Tompkins faking her death to prove a point to Bruce. Doesn't that kind of factor into her becoming Batgirl?
Kind of, yeah. I mean,
yeah. So like one has to go. It's kind of like the JJ Star Trek stuff. Everything has to happen in order for this parallel to still work out, yeah. But also, my greater point in this is the odd number Robins are just better. 1, 3, and 5, and we won't talk about 2 and 4 as Robins, and we're good.
I'll be sure. I mean, Stephanie I prefer as Batgirl, but yeah,
right.
I will not.
I'll take Steph over some other characters, but not necessarily as Robin.
Sure.
It's reverse Star Trek, right? All the odd numbers
it's one of those...
the not so good ones.
No, the odd ones are the good ones. No, you're right. The odd ones are the bad ones. You're right. I think Steph as Robin for an extended period could be fun, but that was never what happened. It was a condensed kind of thing.
Well,
it was.
I always feel like she was just a pawn in War Games, and that they killed her as a shock moment, and no one realized how much we actually cared about Steph.
If Steph actually got a tenure as Robin for 5 years, we might be looking back at it going, yeah, Steph was one of the great Robins, and we couldn't her. But
granted, it wasn't 5 years. What's that, Brian Miller? It's 24 issues. Again, I should know. I just came across it. I was reorganizing.
It was 2 years, right?
Yeah, but 2 years was enough to really establish that. No, she's
her babysitting Damien's still one of my favorite Batgirl stories.
Oh yeah, I love that story.
For any Batgirl.
It leads us on to our next story, which I really this was so reminiscent of Dixon era Nightwing for me.
Yeah.
The art, well, not my favorite style of art. It looks so 90s Nightwing that I was into it. I was like, yes.
It felt oddly familiar.
You really didn't like it, Connor? Is that what you're saying?
The art, I'm just not a fan.
Yeah. Here's my main problem with this story. I like how it basically, because 90s Nightwing was basically DC Spider-Man, man of the people, quippy, swinging around. So I like all that. At no point in the art did we indicate that the woman stuck in the taxi was pregnant, did we? It's not in the dialogue.
No, it was meant to be a reveal though, because there's a moment where the woman, the nurse or whoever looks at it and goes, "Oh," and then it cuts to Nightwing. So it's the teases that there's a thing.
Oh,
I get where Matt's coming. The idea that she was 9 months pregnant is very, very unclear.
Yeah,
you can't just hide that.
Yeah, because then when they go, "Oh, there's 3," I was like, "Wait, what?" What's going on here?
Honestly, I called she was pregnant. I thought that was the most obvious thing that it could be, because of the way the other character reacted to her.
But we're talking about just in the art, looking at her, she does not look. Right. There is no way she looks 9 months pregnant.
Hold on. I need to find the page where you actually see her. Hold on. Go back. So where'll I go? Do you even really see much of her? You only see the side of her face and her shoulder. How is that one way or the other telling you that she's pregnant or not?
Fair enough. I thought it was I don't know. I assume we saw more of her, and because Matt was bringing this up, I thought we saw more of her. I thought we did.
And we didn't, and that's my point. So just based off of that reaction, the O could have been anything. She was in a car wreck, right?
Yeah.
The closest driver left her.
Yeah, but in that case, I don't get the complaint though, because it's it could be anything, and then it reveals at the end, it's a happy thing. She was giving birth.
I mean, sure. I don't like it as a reveal.
Yeah, I have no problem with that. I have no problem with that. But
honestly, I think a lot of this is my problem with the art is I found it a lot of it was really indistinguishable in general. A lot of it was just kind of murky, is the way I'd describe it.
Yeah.
This looks like 90s Nightwing to me. I was like, yeah, this is what Nightwing should look like. This big, bulky, cartoony.
I'm like, if you look on the second page of this story where he's swinging with the woman, her face is just terrible.
I mean, yeah, but the overall image of it looks quite good.
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
This is just too subjective to I don't know. I feel.
I mean, all art is obviously
to a point. I feel like there's definitely an era of people though who love this, and I feel like this fits in. This is definitely one of my favorite stories in the book, mainly just because it felt such like Dixon era Nightwing, which obviously we've been so far removed from, because like because even just the costume, it's not that different from the Rebirth suit, and the Rebirth suit's definitely good. But I was like, oh yeah, this is the Nightwing suit I think of when I think of Nightwing's costume. I think of this era of Nightwing. So I appreciate the second story. Third story is a Titans story by Devin Grayson and Dan Jurgens. There's a whole switcheroo thing where it's actually mostly set around Hive, and you have Damien Dark complaining about how the Titans beat them. He's like, oh, I told you to do this and this and this. And the twist is that the main sort of henchman with the mask who's talking to him the whole time is actually Dick, and he sort of reveals himself. Yeah. Dick reveals himself. What a sentence.
I also like the lessons and leadership aspect that went through here, with the, well, they were just more prepared. Like, they had swapped Troya and Tempest, and it's almost as if they knew it was coming. And it was just because, as the leader of the Titans, Dick's just that good of a, planner. Then you find out, oh no, how long he's been infiltrating Hive, to get there. So,
yeah.
No, it was fun.
Yeah.
I like the Jurgens layouts. It feels like, like we talked about, that was the 90s. This feels of the early 2000s for sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So, but yeah.
The story is fine, right? There's nothing wrong with it, but there's nothing that I'm like, oh, I really like this either. It's just it's fine.
I could have easily swapped this for a Higgins story,
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
I was never a big fan of Higgins' Nightwing stuff, so I don't really feel that way, but...
It's because you're a terrible person.
It is what it is. Honestly, this one's fair. I think the problem with this one-shot is that there's just not that one great story that says, no, this is why I had... Because I saw someone sharing that Tom Taylor Supergirl story from that Nuclear Winter special from a couple of years ago, and I was like, I remember that overall being really mediocre, but that one story made the entire thing worth reading.
I don't know. I do like the Tynan story, and I do like...
I like some of them. I mean, I've liked all three so far to some degree. Like, I've not disliked any of them yet.
No, but I mean the standout. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's just it's the Tim Drake stuff, because I just associate him as Robin more, and that's my bias showing.
You know, I'm a big Tim Drake fan.
Right.
He's clearly the best Robin.
Yeah.
But even his stories in this book, I mean, they're fine. They're all right. They're enjoyable enough. But I mean, I think it does belong. None of them are above and beyond.
Yeah. Can we just skip the Grayson story, because it's not really proper Robin stuff? Nah.
I mean, it's a proper Dick Grayson story.
Right. So if we ignore that, then we gotta ignore the Nightwing stuff, right? Because Nightwing's not Robin.
Yeah. By the exact same logic.
Just stupid spy nonsense.
No, I like his
finest work.
Yeah.
How dare you? How dare you?
Yeah, Mr. Miracle. No, I like it. I mean, just for the shot of the Atlantean sitting on the walrus. It's definitely not Janet's best work. Because like after they fight the Atlanteans on the walrus, what's up with the fellow agent making that face? Is she talking to the walrus? Like,
I mean, I think it's supposed to be she's out of breath, maybe.
I don't know. That was another one that I was like, I don't know what this is.
Is this you're looking at the panel where it's above it just says a short battle later?
Yeah, she's out of breath, I think.
She's out of breath. She's leaning on the walrus. She's exhausted from the fight.
Gotcha. I don't know if she was making like baby sounds at the walrus because she's likes animals or whatever.
I wonder if that's just a problem in the. I don't know if that's a script or whoever made that sound effect as to being out of breath. Maybe that wasn't clear enough.
Right. So, I like this story because I like Grayson. And it's him passing again the leadership and what he's learned. How I like how each one he does the opposite of what Batman would have done, but then at the end the message is still the same, is just be yourself, and that's what he took away.
Yeah, my critique with that story mechanic is not necessarily unique to this one. My critique is that there's two stories in this that kind of do the same thing with that idea of like I'm going against what Batman said.
So you kind of have to speak to the editor of the issue overall who selected the stories.
It's not so much. I mean, I think by its nature I prefer the second one because it's not a Grayson story. But it's not that one's necessarily better than the other. It's just because both of them are there. It's frustrating.
I'm not upset that we got Grayson and dressed up in gorilla armor and Gorilla City fighting.
Felt very Grayson. What's our excuse to get him shirtless this issue?
Right.
But it made me want to reread Grayson because that book is so much fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
We got a proper Robin story next. Jason Todd's up. Robin 2.
Well, you know what? I hate on Jason Todd a lot. In the last couple of weeks, though, there's been a couple of Jason Todd stuff that hit. And then I look at who wrote this one, and it's Judd Winnick, who, it's Judd Winnick and Tom Taylor, the two times I can stomach Jason Todd. Yeah. But I really liked this story. This story, the meeting with the watch.
Yeah, well, I'll explain what it is. Basically, it's Batman's birthday, and Jason's got him a gift, and it's his dad's watch that he's trying to make work again, but he's not quite sussed it out. Especially since you have to, for some reason it winds automatically if you're wearing it, but not if you're not. And he says, "No, I'll give it to you when it's properly finished." And this is kind of intercutting with like Jason Todd running around in like sort of more present day, and basically it's him in present day as an adult as Red Hood dropping off the watch, the gift for Batman. And it sort of ends with like the duel, sort of him saying thanks. And
happy birthday.
Yeah. So no, this was honestly a surprisingly sweet story with Jason in it. I did not expect this to be as nice as this.
And the Win art is pretty great.
Yeah, the art.
Shout out to the colors as well, especially when the fire's going on and Batman stood in front of the car with his flowing cape and the flame or the orange glow. That looks fantastic.
Yeah, it does that thing where the flashback stuff is all sort of blue tinged. All the stuff in present day is all fiery and red and oranges and all that. So it's really clear what you're doing as you're going through it. It flows really well. Pacing's really good. So I can't believe I'm saying it, but this might be one of the better stories so far.
I think it's probably the best one so far.
Yeah. So that is that. And then we have... So there's only one Jason-specific story, then we're on to Tim. He gets a couple. The first one is a story of him with his school counsellor, and his counsellor's saying that he needs to do more stuff if he wants to get into law enforcement. I don't necessarily believe that law enforcement looks for a lot of extracurricular activities, but that's what the counsellor's telling him.
Yeah. Well, especially, I mean, had he said criminal justice instead of law enforcement...
Sure.
Yeah, I could see that. But I do like the counter here is like, oh no, he does do a lot of extracurriculars, but he can't list them because he's Robin. And this is my favorite Tim Drake suit. So, like, to see this again, it felt nice. It's distinct. I like the lacquer gray or green.
Say what?
In it. Yeah. The lacquer green. It's
I think we can all agree now that we like the lacquer brown.
Yes.
I am so glad I have not had the misfortune of really reading that terrible suit. But honestly, I'm not a huge fan of the art overall in this story. It's okay. Yeah, it's not really my cup of tea, though.
Yeah, no, I kind of agree with that. Especially the stuff where he's as Robin. I don't know if it's a different artist, if it's just a different style for.
He looks really bulky as Robin, doesn't
he? Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't super into
that.
Especially
on that last page in the third panel on the top. He looks.
I was saying the page before that where he's crashing through the window. If you look at like his legs, it's all over.
Dude, he doesn't miss leg day. Whatsoever.
So that was Adam Beechin writing with Freddie Williams II. The credits page is at the end. Basically, obviously, when it comes to these big anthology books, I don't write down all the creators because it would be a huge list. And what's the point?
I mean, it's also they've started to add a table of contents at the front.
Yeah. Which is good.
Tells you where they are.
Which is good.
Yeah.
So then we have The Boy Wonders, which is Tynan's story with Javier Fernandez on the art. And this is just a prequel to his detective run where Robin's struggling with the decision if he wants to go off to school or do what Batman wants him to do. So he goes to each of the other Robins and asks for advice. And you have Dick telling him, trust yourself, you're good at this. And then Damien's like, don't trust yourself, Drake, you're an idiot.
Right. This is what I was expecting more of Robin as a whole. As much as it's about Tim Drake, it's also Tynan giving the other Robins, how they work in relation with each other.
Yeah, if you had to boil this issue down to one story, I think this is the quintessential one, even though it's probably not necessarily the best one. This is the one that showcases all of them in the sense that Dick's like, no, be a leader, and Jason's like, no, improve on Batman. Take his ideas but make them better.
Yeah.
And Damien's like, just do whatever the hell you want.
It's one of those things where it's kind of obviously we love that run, so it was cute to have a lead into it. But at the same time, because it is just that, it doesn't necessarily stand on its own as much as maybe a couple of others do. So,
right,
it's kind of it's in a weird place. I'm actually kind of shocked there wasn't a story in this where it was just like all the Robins like having like a meeting or something where they're discussing Batman or something like that.
I kept waiting.
Yeah, I was really expecting like a sort of all Robins assemble,
like what we got in the Pennyworth R.I.P. issue.
Kind of, yeah, kind of like a Robin version of that. But I mean, hey, it didn't happen. Then we moved on to Stephanie Brown, who for some reason didn't get also credited as Batgirl because it says other aliases, spoiler, but not Batgirl. I thought that was weird, but whatever.
Yeah, that's. I wonder if that is supposed to be confirming that she was Robin but not Batgirl in continuity.
I guess. I mean, I don't know if it matters that much now, but I mean, yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
So the art in this one, I assume we're going to have opinions on. The weird thing is I actually do think the ultra round face on Stephanie sometimes works for the style it's going for, but I almost always hate Batman's head.
I like Firefly. I think Firefly looks great.
Sure.
Because that's what Firefly normally looks like.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
I think the ultra clean look really works for Firefly, especially with the way the lighting really reflects off him with the orange.
Oh sure, yeah. This story is basically about Steph like trying to fit in as Robin and saying, "Hey, I can't just wear Tim's old suit. This doesn't work for me. It's giving me a wedgie." So Batman, eventually gives her own dressing room, and scans her for the own costume and all the rest of it. And she's kind of being Steph and goofing up, and like you think she's trapped, she's tied to a train track, which was more of a comical throwback to the old damsel in distress than being tied to a train track.
Right.
But she gets herself out of it, of course, and yeah, so it's like, yeah, maybe she's got a shot as Robin. It is kind of weird to like obviously I love Stephanie Brown. I don't know if you necessarily need to celebrate her as a Robin per se. Like if they ever do a Batgirl anniversary issue, then yeah, give her a couple of stories in that. Like
yeah.
But like,
I mean, I'm glad that they included her. I like the tone of the story. I did not like the art whatsoever.
Yeah. It's kind of weird almost that we got a Stephanie Brown one, but then not like a Carrie Kelly story, right?
Yeah, I feel like Carrie Kelly's brought up more when it comes to Batgirl. It's funny because I say like Steph's head sometimes work for me. It definitely doesn't that last page. That last page where she's looking at the mirror, I hate her head.
I think it works more when she's out of costume.
That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
But even earlier on when she's at the start or anytime she hasn't got the eye mask on, I think it works a lot of the because there's times where they're scanning her for measurements. I assume. I think she hasn't got the mask on there, and it works in those pages. It's just as soon as she puts the mask on, it just goes completely.
Yes, but I assume you enjoyed the Nicholas Scott pin-up of her afterwards, though.
Who didn't?
Yeah, even though I don't like her in that Robin costume, it looks pretty damn great.
Yeah.
We had a Stephanie Brown Robin run, or like where Batman, like all the other Robins are taken out, and Stephanie Brown has to step up and be Robin, just to give us some proper Robin time. So obviously that takes on to Damian, which the
Robin current.
Yeah, they point out that he's the current Robin, which sure, thank you for that.
That won't age very well. Everyone else's ages because they're numbered. But Robin current, give it 20 years.
Yeah,
right.
Who's Robin 6 going to be? So exciting to find out. So this is a story. John is writing an essay for school called My Best Friend, and he's kind of grumbling through it, but he's talking about how he met Damien and how he's his best friend and blah blah blah. But of course, the story ends with Damien kind of like catching him writing this as he's falling asleep at the keyboard. Yeah. It's just kind of a sweet story. Obviously, this is Tomasi. This is the Super Sons.
Yeah. It's almost a recap of the first arc, right? Of them fighting and them becoming friends.
Yeah.
I will say that the best moment here for me is the acknowledgement of he is Lois Lane's son, so of course he has spelling errors.
Yeah.
In this piece, and he's gonna get a Wurlitzer, right? Wurlitzer, so I don't know how you pronounce that. Is it Pulitzer or Pulitzer? Because I've heard it both.
Let me say it without thinking about it. Pulitzer. That's how I'd say it.
Right. So then it's a Wurlitzer. That was pretty funny.
So and then the last story is the Teen Titans sort of lead in for wherever that's going next. which I don't think it's a surprise. This is probably the one that I enjoyed probably the least. Maybe
I found myself really skimming this one because I was not a fan of the art at all.
Yeah,
that's fair. Robbie Thompson wrote it with I just accidentally went a different page on. With Ramon Villalobos, sorry, on art.
Yeah, Villalobos.
So, yeah, I mean, this is basically. I mean, I did like the little fake out where Damien's like got Batman looking at a fake Batman hologram or fake Robin hologram, but then Batman shows up behind him. Is like, yeah, okay, so we can play that game. Like, I enjoyed that little joke, but this is just setting up stuff that Robin's doing in Teen Titans, where he's talking about wiping the minds of criminals instead of sending them away to prison just so they can break out again. And that was pretty much it.
Yeah, that'll never go wrong. I do like the symmetry though, the beginning.
In the end, it ends with it starts
with that was a nice touch.
Yeah, the final page is basically Robin doing all the same things that Batman did in the first page. Yeah, there's something to be said there. There's a Carrie Kelly pin up at the back. That I don't particularly like, but it's there. And then there's a nice big spread of all the Robins kind of hanging out on a rooftop. So, and that's basically that shirt special. I think, honestly, the vast majority of the stories are relatively enjoyable. I honestly think that. I think there's only one or two that I didn't like that much. And I think the problem is that 100 pages of relatively enjoyable, just it's not the same unless there's that one standout, like, must-read story.
Enjoyable enough, but ultimately forgettable. If you ask me about this in 2 weeks, I think I will struggle to tell you specifics about pretty much any of the stories.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Don't get me wrong, it makes sense that Dick got the most time because he is the original Robin. He's the one that actually turned 80 with this anniversary, so that does make sense. So we'll see how it maps out. I mean, it's a weird thing to rate a book like this with all the different art styles, all the different writing styles. But I guess like, if you're judging it as a 100-page book, is it worth reading? The answer is probably no, especially not when... I mean, if this cost the price of a regular issue, sure, I'd be like, oh yeah, you know what, if this was $4, yeah, by all means, go and get your money's worth. But...
but for the... Yeah, for that price, it's kind of...
Like
I can't...
$10? I can't remember.
I feel like the bigger appeal of this, honestly, is for some of the variants. If you like one of the variants, like the anniversary variants, then that's probably a bigger appeal than any of the stories that are actually inside it. Is to have that, that fancy cover is probably the truth. I don't regret reading it though, but it also
it's pretty good.
I mean, out of all these specials we've had so far, though, it's probably the weakest one. I am looking forward to Green Lantern though. Green Lantern's definitely the one that I'm pumped for. Out of the rest that are still coming, but yeah. So, Matt, what are you going to give it?
I'm going to give it overall just a straight 7. Like you said, it's enjoyable. It's all up and down.
Yeah. Connor?
Yeah, I can't go quite that high. I'm going to give it a 6. It's okay. It's fine. If you really want to read it, sure, but I wouldn't rush out.
Yeah, I'll agree with Matt and go with the 7. I think, it's hard to say too many bad things about it, other than just one or two stories maybe, but it just doesn't feel that important either. So, I mean, for me, that's the definition of a 7. Good, but not important.